When a hockey player is learning to play hockey or a ballet dancer is learning to dance, they don't just tie up their skates or ballet shoes and go for it. To become good at sports or dancing or anything, you need to learn the skills and techniques, and then you need to practice them over and over. It's the same with writing. Writers don't just pick up a pencil and start writing. They need to learn the skills and techniques that they need, and then they practice them. So what does a skater need to do to become a good hockey player? They might learn how to skate, shoot. They might learn stick handling. They might learn passing. Ballet players, for example, might need to know how to do feet position, arm positions, plie, arabesque, bar exercises, and probably there's much more. What we're going to do in today's lesson is learn how to add details. Writers have an important job. Their job is to keep their readers interested in what they have to say. Writers want their readers to keep on reading, not to read a few sentences, yawn, and put the book down. As writers, we want to make sure that our readers stay interested and keep on reading. So we need to make sure that our writing is interesting, not boring. I'm going to show you some examples of robot writing and then how to make them more interesting. A pretty boring sentence might be, I love snow. But it might be way, way more interesting for the reader to read, when it snows, I always do a snow dance. In the kitchen. I love snow. Adding a detail after the fact makes the writing more interesting to read. You can put I love snow at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. Either way, these details, the snow dance in the kitchen, make them more interesting. Let's try another one. Here's an example of robot writing. I am Jojo. I am 11 years old. I have reddish-brown hair. I have pale skin and freckles. I have bluish-green eyes. I like to swim. I'm afraid of sharks. This is a pattern sentence. You see I am, I have, I like. Those are the same beginnings for every single sentence. Now look at what happens when we try and make it more interesting with similes and metaphors. My name is Jojo. I am 11 years old. I have hair the color of cinnamon toast without the crust. Creamy skin, except where it's speckled like an overripe banana. My eyes are like summer mountains. That's blue with a little bit of green, in case you were wondering. I like to swim in anything except the ocean because I'm scared that a shark will bite my leg off. My mom says that sharks only swim in very warm water, but I don't believe her. Why is this one a better piece than the previous one? Similes and metaphors. Good writers don't just write lists for every fact they write. They try to add a detail or an example so that the reader feels that they are sharing something personal with them and not just listening to a bunch of general facts. These are examples of similes. He crept into the room as quiet as a mouse. The clouds were as fluffy as cotton candy. The snow sparkled like millions of tiny diamonds. The puppy's ears were as soft as velvet. What do you notice these sentences have in common? Every single one is a comparison, and they compare two things. This is called a simile. When you compare two things that aren't really alike and connect them with the word as or like, similes help the reader make connections and visualize. Crept into the room as quiet as a mouse. So he creeps quietly as a mouse. The clouds were as fluffy as cotton candy. So clouds and cotton candy are both fluffy. He creeps like a mouse, quietly. The snow sparkled like millions of tiny diamonds. The puppy's ears were as soft as velvet. So puppy's ears and velvet are being compared. Sparkling snow is being compared to tiny diamonds. Clouds and cotton candy are both fluffy and creeping quietly, like a mouse creeps quietly. As, like, as. Similes. There are some similes that are well known or common but have been really overused. These are kind of called cliches, but that's kind of an adult term. Grade 6s need to know that. Cliches, similes that have been overused. Wise as an owl. Cold as ice. Busy as a bee. People have used these similes so often that they aren't as interesting to read. Your job is to try and create original and surprising similes. This is the Simile and You Will See sheet. What you're going to do is try and create some similes. The chart has 2 spaces beside each prompt, one for a common simile and one for an original. Remember that when you're creating a simile, the 2 things that you're comparing are different, but they have to share something in common. For example, if we're discussing a volcano, we wouldn't say as crunchy as a volcano. We might say as explosive as a volcano or as wild-tempered as a volcano, something like that. If we're talking about a spider, we don't think silly when we think spiders. So we wouldn't write as silly as a spider. We might write as creepy as a spider, as startling as a spider, something like that. If you're describing somebody who's friendly, you think of things that have a feeling of friendliness about them, like sunshine, for example. You wouldn't say friendly like a mushroom, friendly like the sun, friendly like your great Aunt Mildred, friendly like something that makes your heart smile. And last of all, when you're describing things that are crazy, again, whatever you think crazy is, crazy like a zombie, yes. Crazy like peanut butter, no. So make sure that the 2 things that you're comparing make sense together. They should have something in common. Tea-colored water is fine when we're describing the beaten river because tea and the beaten are both brown. Cotton candy clouds are both light and fluffy. So you can have that as a really good simile.